Every fascist movement and every system of oppression starts with a myth. And they have to control the history so that you won't ever be able to know that that myth is untrue. Black Phone 2 is about that control.
Just saw Black Phone 2, and it was an okay horror movie, I guess, but all the things that I loved about it, there was still a lot to hate about it too.
The grabber, he used to be just the one, he is control. Like, he is the metaphor for control. And in the first one, you see Finney, he's locked in the basement, he has no power, and all of those from the past who have been oppressed, have been victimized, they're calling him. They're calling him literally on the phone, and the phone acts as like a conscience or the whispers from the past, and all you have to do is listen. It's really difficult to listen to those who are being victimized. It's hard to look at what has been done to others and realize that you're part of that. You have to have the courage to stand up, to listen and at all, and then stand up to those who are controlling you. So in the first one, the grabber is that system, and Finney is breaking free of that by directly confronting it. In that case, he's directly confronting the oppressor, which of course is important, but there's a few things left open. You can overthrow a dictator, or even punch your father in the face, or put Derek Chauvin in jail because he killed George Floyd. You could do those things, but until you actually start looking at the history and confronting the myths that are around this, then you haven't done much, right? You haven't actually solved the problem.
The last one, they had all sorts of really cool themes with, as far as like the power dynamic between young and old, and who has the power when, and even like ideas about the great beyond and how that all works. It's pretty cool.
Black Phone 2 is what happens when we believe the myth and when we let the past go unexamined, that it will haunt us forever until we actually do something about it. So if the first one is about listening to the past and understanding, and then having the courage to actually do something to not be victimized yourself, to break the cycle of abuse, especially to not be a victim that feeds on your obedience, right? It's to disobey. That is like the first step, right? You have to have this revolution. You have to be the person that breaks free of that, or else it'll just keep going forever. But freedom doesn't just stop there. Freedom is making others free, right? That is the action of freedom. And in that second film, victory has to turn inward. It has to go into the nightmares and what this all means for yourself.
There are some cool things about how you feel when someone strips you of your power, and how the institution of religion has completely failed us, and what that feels like.
What if the trap isn't physical at all? What if the trap is not a basement? Maybe the trap is only psychological. See, the first film ends with freedom, liberation, but the second film begins with memory. Orwell once wrote, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." That's fascism's secret weapon, right? It's to rewrite history. January 6th was all about love. The Holocaust never happened, or wasn't as bad as they say it was. The person who's seeking to oppress you has to gaslight you into thinking, well, it wasn't actually that bad. You see just abusive spouses doing this, right? Like, oh, well, that was because you did that, and that's because, oh, he was drinking, she was on her period, or whatever. People making these excuses, but also what they're really doing is rewriting the past to excuse it in a way so that they can continue the same behavior. That's why an apology doesn't mean shit if someone doesn't do the last step of a real apology, which is, I am going to either not do that again, or I'm going to take steps so that never happens again. Black Phone 2 lives in that lie. The grabber's gone, but violence doesn't just die when the dude doing the violence dies. The boot doesn't really go away just because you kill the guy wearing the boot, until you actually address the myth and the original lie, the original sin, if you will, then maybe you'll come closer to some kind of justice. In the movie, you've got these ghosts, and it's a ghost story at the end of the day. But the ghosts are underneath the ice. That's not a spoiler. That's like right there, right? You see really cool sequences with the grabber on ice skates. Super cool way they've written that into the story, and how beneath the depths, in the cold depths, you know that through the whole movie. But they're coming back not to scare you, but to tell you the truth. And the truth just is scary. The ghosts are neat in this movie. They've done a really good job of making them look cool and making them scary. The way they died was horrific, so it scares the people who are seeing it, but they have to look. They can't just be afraid. Finney hears the phone ring. He doesn't want to answer the phone. Just picks it up and hangs up immediately. Doesn't want to talk on the phone with the past. Everyone's just trying to avoid the haunting. James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." The ghost in the story is that truth, the ghosts, and they won't leave until they're actually confronted and heard. It's one thing to fight evil like in the first movie, but you have to actually face it head on and actually face what evil is if you're going to do something about it. You see, fascism thrives on amnesia. It knows that we have a short memory, and it knows that we want to avoid looking into the past. It requires us to forget who we hurt, forget what we did, and look backwards, but not too closely. Color that with rosy-colored glasses. Every authoritarian project requires that type of forgetting. When you can't tell truth from fiction, history becomes a weapon, and that's why memory is a form of resistance. Do not let them make you forget. Everyone will try to forget, but there will be a few people who end up looking like freedom fighters just because they want to tell you the truth about what went down. The moment you recall the truth, you are threatening them. You're threatening those in power because their entire castle is built on a sand pit of lies. It's a house of cards, and each card is another lie. And you just remembering the truth and saying it and telling others and investigating, trying to find the truth when you don't know it yourself. That is a true act of resistance. You could be a rebel. Be a rebel by remembering. Black Phone 2 shows how that works. Every ghost is like a fragment of history, and the deeper they get, the more even the grabber starts trying to understand history and giving them more of what actually occurred, which is pretty awesome too. I kind of liked how it tied back to the original film that way. They're able to get closure as a family too, as a family unit, because he tells them what happened in their past, which is neat because it isn't just about others, right? It's also about themselves. The characters in the story, they get some closure out of going into the past. Finney's power comes to him when he refuses to keep pushing away the past and keep forgetting and refusing to acknowledge it, and then goes headlong into the past and remembers and refuses to forget. When he has that switch, that's the power that he has over the grabber now, because he's not a little kid locked in a basement. He's locked in a prison of his own reluctance to face the things that came in the past. In the end, Finney isn't just a survivor, he's a witness, and freedom is nothing unless it helps break the cycle. He has to remember. He has to be honest with himself and with others who he is. Primo Levi said it happened, therefore it can happen again. And that's the real horror and the real hope. Because if it can happen again, it can be stopped again, but only if we remember. Black Phone 2 isn't just a ghost story, it's a history lesson. The past is calling. Freedom doesn't begin with forgetting. Freedom comes when we answer the call. Any therapist will tell you that, right? You can't just forget what happened in your own personal life. You got to address it, or it's just going to haunt you forever. And I know that you could look at the story as just your own personal mental journey, but that's so unfulfilling, right? in the story, you have he is kind of addressing kind of his own misgivings of what's happened, his own trauma. I mean, the kid was locked in a basement. He's having to address the trauma, and everyone in the story that's been touched by the grabber, even the grabber himself. Ethan Hawke does a great job, by the way. Even the grabber himself, the trauma that they've experienced by what's gone down has to be gotten to the root of, or else we're just going to keep doing it. And that's unacceptable. So I guess the question now is, will you listen to the victims? Will you listen to the whistleblowers? Will you listen to those who cry out for mercy, those who beg you for freedom? Can you answer the call? That phone is always ringing. And the black phone, since it's always ringing, just answer it. It's your conscience calling. That's your conscience calling. You don't have to live in captivity, either the little basement or your own mind. You don't have to. The phone's ringing. It can be fought. We've defeated this before. So take heart, dear hearts. I'm Skyjack Morgan, reminding you that every system of oppression requires your obedience and your silence, but the phone is ringing. The past isn't dead. Will you answer the call? Like, subscribe, will you? Have a great night. Don't let the grabber get ya.